IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually.
Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling.
Imagine, what could relief from IBS-C mean for you? Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
Want to weigh in on the conversation?
Some brain booster.
Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Tannehill was on my list for potential cap casualties. Derek was not, but it sounds to me like he's tradable. But I wonder if they can't get him traded, are they just going to keep him? I don't believe they'd just release him. I don't know what you think he's worth. We can get into that potential. But I wrote down next to his name, Atlanta, Miami, Buffalo, Giants if they lose Saquon, Philly, they have Sanders is out of contract, Chicago, Carolina, New Orleans. There's a bunch of teams that would probably really like to have him. So we'll see what transpires with that. Because to me, he is a tradable piece. You got a contract on the guy, and there's a lot of teams that love to run the ball better than they run it.
There you go. That was Pat Kerwin on NFL Network Radio talking about Derrick Henry, and there will be a market if Derrick Henry was on the trade block, which Rand Carthon says isn't true, even though everybody and their grandma believes that the Titans were, in fact, shopping Derrick Henry. He says it's not true. But an unnamed league executive in The Athletic talked to Mike Sando about the Titans and Derrick Henry. And they were talking about kind of the offseason and how the Titans aren't spending any money, something that we told you was going to happen, and then was asked about Derrick Henry. And the league executive said to Mike Sando, quote, "Derrick Henry is the perfect trade deadline candidate," another league executive said. "That is probably when you get the most value for him." Let me just say this. The Titans won't be able to trade Derrick Henry at the deadline. Now, the Titans are saying, hey, we're not interested in trading Derrick Henry. They also said they weren't interested in trading A.J. Brown. But the Titans say, we're not interested in trading Derrick Henry, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But this executive says the trade deadline is when you'll get the most value for him. The reason that I think you'll get the most value for Derrick Henry around the deadline is because then teams will know if they're good, and they'll see Derrick running the ball, and they'll say, okay, we can get him, and he can be a key piece that we need going forward. Now, here's why I don't think the Titans are going to be able to trade Derrick Henry at the trade deadline. Because if Derrick Henry's on the team, you're going to win too many games. If the Titans at the trade deadline, and I want to say what, the trade deadline happens week 9 or 10, Ian?
Early November, I feel like. Yeah,
so,
right around there.
Okay, let's say it's week 10. If the Titans are 6-3 at the time of the trade deadline, you're not going to trade Derrick Henry. Why would you do that? You're going to make the playoffs if you're 6-3, or at least you think you're going to make the playoffs if you're 6-3. I mean, to me, you're not going to turn around and say, okay, well, now we're going to trade away Derrick Henry even though we're right there in the playoffs. You're playing a second-place schedule. You have a high draft pick. You got young players that showed promise last year. Maybe they'll be pretty good. The one constant with the team is as long as you have Vrabel at coach, as long as you have Tannehill at quarterback, as long as you have Henry at running back, you are going to at least be good enough. You're going to be too good to be able to trade him at the deadline. So if you actually are interested in trading Derrick Henry, which I know you say that you're not, but everybody and their grandma thinks you're lying, if you actually want to trade Derrick Henry, you better do it now. Because you're not going to be able to do it at the deadline. You're going to win too many games this year with Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, and Mike Vrabel. You may not win the game that everybody wants you to win with those three, but you will win way too many games to be able to rule it out by the trade deadline. I mean, it's just common sense there. So this idea about trading Derrick Henry at the deadline, a league executive says you can get the most for him then. That's great, but you can't trade him then because you'll be too good. Unfortunately, that's what happens when you win a little bit in the league. You know, the Giants thought they were going to be bad this year. Like, the Giants thought they were going to be bad. They were excited to have this throwaway year, get a high pick in this year's draft. They wanted to be the Colts. And they wanted to be picking 2, 3, 4, and they get their quarterback of the future, and then they can build them up. Problem was, Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley played too well. So now what you got? You're in the playoffs. You got to keep rolling with Daniel Jones. And that's the key with this is you're not going to be able to trade Derrick Henry at the deadline because you're going to be too good because you got Derrick Henry. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Trevor will join us coming up next. Todd McShay's latest mock draft is out. The rumors about the Titans trading up to the third pick. What's Trevor make of it? We'll do that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. You know I love my guys at Hiller. That's right. They have been taking care of my house for years, and they can do the exact same for you. And when I say take care, I mean they really take care of it. Sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks. I certainly know that I do that way too often. But there are actually big problems that can come from old, outdated, vintage HVAC systems. Older systems have higher repair costs, require more maintenance, and result in higher utility bills. And even worse, they can break down when you need them the most. This month, during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Just go online to happyhiller.com and submit a picture of your old unit. Plus, everybody wins with trade-in credits and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacements. That's my guys. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
I think it's a really good move.
TD, it's never the offseason for ESPN's Teron Davenport.
I mean, that's something you obviously have to look at.
He's always talking about what's next for the Tennessee Titans.
Quarterback is a really important thing that they have to get determined.
Check out TD, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8:30. Plus, the Talkin' with TD podcast.
Looking forward to that.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Ever tried to shop for a diamond online? They all look great on the computer screen, but the fact is, most reputable jewelers like Genesis Diamonds wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole.
These are the diamonds that nobody wants to buy. We call them the B-quality diamonds.
That's Genesis owner Boaz Ramon, who says that even diamonds with the same grade and specs on paper can be very different when you see them up close in person, especially the ones from online dealers.
Those diamonds gonna look always cloudy or dirty. It's like you're wearing your glasses and there is fingerprints all over the glass. You just don't understand, or nobody told you that the material that this diamond was cut from was not the best material.
Why risk it? At Genesis Diamonds, they screen thousands of diamonds and only choose the best of the best for maximum brilliance, sparkle, and luster. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I'm Boaz Ramon, and my accent is always on value.
Seems like everything costs more these days. Food, utilities, medical costs, you name it. But as prices go up, our family budget stays the same. Fortunately, with Farm Bureau Health Plan's Core Choice coverage, we can save $3,600 a year compared to the leading competitor. And we've got better coverage with a lower premium, lower deductible, free telehealth visits, and access to one of the largest networks available. Start saving today at FBHP.com or visit your local Farm Bureau office.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics wants to thank their patients for voting them the #1 orthopedic practice in the Nashville Scene Poll for 3 years in a row. Their physicians specialize in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremity, and other orthopedic conditions. At Houston Clinic Orthopedics, they adhere to all CDC guidelines for the patient's and staff safety. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
When you want live and local,
if they were just better at the offensive line,
you could be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Hey Nashville, Trey Wingo here. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Stillman and Company, the draft season is upon us. We are in draft month, which means we're in the month of not telling the truth. You will see things that are reported that are not true. And it does not mean that it is bad reporting, but it means that they have been told to report something that a team wants reported. And so Daniel Jeremiah put it out there that he hears the Titans are trying to move up to number 3 in the NFL draft. We would think to take a quarterback, and I'm convinced that that's not true. Not that Daniel Jeremiah is lying, but I'm convinced that that is Arizona telling him Tennessee wants that pick so they can scare Indianapolis. And I would not advise trading up for the 3rd overall pick. The 33rd team has the Titans trading from 11 to 3, and according to them, it would cost them 11, 42, 70, 41, 72, their 5th round pick, and their 2nd next year. And the only reason it's not a 4th round pick is because they don't have it because of the Julio Jones trade. And then they have them drafting Will Levis. I'm not for that. Trevor Maddich joins us now on the program, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, where experience matters. Trev, there's a lot of smoke that the Titans could be interested in trading up to 3 for one of these quarterbacks. What are your thoughts?
Oh, please don't. Please, no. If one of the top 2 teams takes either Will Levis or Anthony Richardson out of Kentucky or Florida, then I could see them doing it, because that would mean either Bryce Young out of Alabama or C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State would be available at number 3. And I think either one of those guys is a very good risk of being a very good quarterback in this league for a long time. But if those 2 are gone with the first 2 picks, no, to take anybody else that's available in this draft at quarterback at number 3. And so even if they're thinking about it, they need to get it ready so that if that does happen, and either Young or Stroud's available at number 3, then they can pull the trigger, rather than just hope it happens and then be stuck at number 3 if they don't. And I'll tell you that, especially people are talking about Richardson in that spot, and I'm getting annoyed with that, Jared. I'm getting kind of annoyed. I've always tried to be kind of diplomatic because different people see things a different way, and I get it. But everybody talks about the amazing upside potential of Anthony Richardson. I'm thinking, what, as a quarterback? He hasn't shown you anything in college that he has an upside potential as a quarterback. None. He's a great athlete. He's got a massive upside as an athlete. But as a quarterback, it is pure speculation, And so, and people always point to the Utah game, how amazing Richardson was when Florida beat Utah in the opener last year. Wow, was he fantastic. Look at these plays. And I'm getting tired of that too, because I look at the defense of Utah and how they opened the gate over and over again. And again, Richardson took advantage when Utah opened the gate on defense. You can give him credit for that. But Kentucky, the next opponent for Florida, watched that film. They put everybody in the right gaps. They didn't put 2 or 3 guys in one gap and leave something wide open for Richardson to run through unopposed. And with Richardson having to deal with defenders doing the right thing in the right way every time, he was terrible against Kentucky.
to move up to number 3 to get Richardson is an absolute leap of faith that I just don't see value in. So if one of the other 2 quarterbacks ends up there because somebody else grabs Richardson, I can see that point. But, man, just to get up there to get the 3rd quarterback that happens to might be available, I just wouldn't understand the Titans doing that.
Can I tell you that I disagree with your Anthony Richardson sentiment?
Okay, fire away.
So, I mean, you say he hasn't shown us anything. I mean, I disagree. When you watch the Vandy tape, even though they lost the game, he threw for 400 yards in that game. I mean, he was throwing bullets. And you watch the Florida State game, he completed 9 passes. 3 of them were touchdowns, including deep balls where he just flipped the wrist and he hit guys perfectly in stride. His team sucked. That Florida team was not very good. Now, Will Levis gets a huge pass because his team sucked too. Nobody gives Richardson that pass. He's got the size. He's got the athleticism. He's got the arm strength. I think he has shown, even though he was not an accurate passer, I think he's shown that he can be accurate deep. I think there's a long road between where he is right now and superstardom, but I do think that road exists. I'm not convinced it exists with Levis. I think it does exist with Anthony Richardson. He also has the wow play in him. And so I'm not telling you that I think Richardson's going to be great. I'm just telling you I think he can be great.
Well, I hope that you are right. I wish no negative outcomes for him. I hope that he's able to hit the ground running and develop into an outstanding NFL quarterback. And I've seen those plays where his arm is just unbelievable. Mm-hmm. The problem is, over the body of his season, he completed 53.8% of his passes. 53.8. Now, part of that is, like you said, the offensive line didn't give him time. The receivers weren't very good. They weren't very deep. He had drops, all those different things. But it wasn't enough of that his overall performance should have been that inconsistent. And so NFL coaches will look at that, and they'll scout out the completions and the incompletions, or better yet, the accurate throws and the inaccurate throws. And they'll try to figure out why the inaccurate ones weren't on target. And if they look at that and say, yeah, every time he did this with his feet, he was inaccurate, but every time he did that with his feet, he was inaccurate, or at least he was consistent, right? And they think, yeah, we can teach that. Well, Florida's coaches saw that too. They couldn't get him to do it, but maybe he just needed more time. He only had 1 year as a starter, so we give him the benefit of the doubt from that. But see, I just remember that when I was a kid, there was a moped that was advertised for sale. Moped is like a motor or a bicycle with a little engine in it. And the guy said the engine didn't run, so he's going to sell it cheap. And so I went over there with a guy who knew a little bit about engines, but not a lot, but a little bit. And he pulled out the spark plug, and the spark plug was all carboned up. And he said, hey, we put in a new spark plug. This is going to run great. So he gave the guy the money, came out, new spark plug, still wouldn't run. Because at some point, which we didn't know, that thing had overheated enough to warp the rest of that engine so that it wouldn't really run very well. And so is the problem that his feet just aren't right, or is it the problem that he can't get the feet right?
Sure.
What is the problem? All I know is that Florida, there were huge problems. And so coaches are going to have to be amazing at their evaluation of how to fix the inaccuracy, because to me, accuracy is the price of admission for a quarterback. I mean, I've heard Mike Vrabel say that, first he wants leadership, then he wants toughness, then he wants accuracy. And he's an NFL head coach, and I'm not. But what you've just described is Tim Tebow. Mm-hmm. I love Tim Tebow. Leadership and toughness off the charts. But accuracy wasn't consistent enough to succeed in the NFL. And so the leadership and toughness didn't really matter. And so, all the rest of the amazing traits that Richardson has, to me, are absolutely trumped if he doesn't get that accuracy up to speed. And he couldn't do it in college, and that's the only thing I know for sure.
Here's my problem. Trevor Mattis is with us. Here's my problem with the Titans trading up to take one of those 2 quarterbacks, whether it's Richardson or Levis. My problem is that if they were to do it, what it would take to go from 11 to 3, I think would almost set that quarterback up for failure no matter what, because they're going to have to trade probably their 2nd-round pick this year, probably their 1st-round pick next year, and probably their 2nd-round pick next year. Well, if they do that, let's say they do that, they get Anthony Richardson, and they put Anthony Richardson on the bench behind Tannehill. So then Tannehill and Henry play for a year, and now they're gone. Well, then how are you going to get help on the offensive line or wide receiver for Anthony Richardson? You can't do it in the first round because you traded that pick in order to get him. You can't do it in the second round because you traded that pick in order to move up to get him. So then you're going to be setting that quarterback up for failure. It's not the same as Kansas City going up and getting Mahomes, where they already had Hill and Kelsey and Andy Reid's offense. Or even what San Francisco did. They already had Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams. So I feel like, Trevor, the Titans do not have the infrastructure that would allow a quarterback to be successful if they traded up in order to draft a quarterback. What do you think of that?
Jared, I think that's great analysis, because you've got to ask yourself, would the Titans be better in the medium to long term? I mean, short term, they're building. They're not going to probably go to the Super Bowl next year anyway, absent alien abduction of some of their better opponents. They just take them, in a spaceship off into space, and the Titans win by forfeit. Other than that, they're not going to the Super Bowl this year, maybe not the next. And so for medium to long term, are the Titans better off with Anthony Richardson and hope he pans out the way they think he could, but those other support players not there? Or would they be better saying, okay, a guy like Hendon Hooker, who I like for a lot of reasons, and I think his negatives don't bother me at all. And if he were taken at 11, it wouldn't really bother me. But Hooker, with all those support people that they would have to trade away in the form of draft picks, which would be better, Richardson by himself or Hooker surrounded by those guys when you look at 3 years down the road and then for the next 7? And I think Hooker, with those players around him, has a better chance of leading this team to the Super Bowl than Richardson by himself without those extra guys.
Trevor Matich is with us. Todd McShay's new mock draft is out. It's a 2-rounder where he has the Titans going. I could not believe it. We'll get into that with Trevor. Plus, the one feeling that I have, if the Titans are on the board at that spot, the one thing that I will say I think they should do, even though I don't necessarily want it to happen, we'll get to that next, here on the program with Trevor Matich, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Golf's first major is a tradition unlike any other, and now you can bet who you think will win at Augusta on FanDuel. Right now, all customers get bonus bets back if your Augusta winner pick does not win, but at least finishes in the top 10. A lot of people like Will Zalatoris to win his first major. I mean, again, for me, no, I pay attention if Tiger's in it. Just keep that in mind. There's no better chance to get in on the action than now. The app is easy to use, and with so many different betting options, when you win, you'll get paid instantly. So drive down Magnolia Lane and take a swing at betting the first major. Visit FanDuel.com/JGM to get bonus bets back if your Augusta winner pick does not win, but finishes in the top 10. That's FanDuel.com/JGM. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max bonus $25 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
They can be a fully formed model of what they're going to be offensively moving forward.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
You don't know what's going to happen with the roster or the team.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
This is a good lesson about sports and what we think and what actually happens.
Chad Withrow on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome to Smashville, home of the biggest hits in hockey and the loudest parties on Broadway. Join us at Bridgestone Arena Tuesday, April 6th for College Night with Belmont University as your Nashville Predators take on the Carolina Hurricanes. Purchase your College Night tickets today at NashvillePredators.com/tickets to receive a limited edition Preds and Belmont co-branded hat. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. Let's go, Preds!
It's electric in Smashville. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 429 has a new path to a dignified career. Local 429 is accepting applications for the highest skilled electricians and linemen and is providing the best training in Middle Tennessee. They are the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 429. Call them at 615-889-4429 or go online to IBEW429.org. IBEW Local 429, your proud seventh man since the beginning. Go Preds.
The choice is yours, Wednesdays at 8:45. Brought to you by Jarrett Companies. Now hiring experienced sprinkler experts. Go to JarrettFire.com. JARRETT Fire.com. Jarrett Companies, a company above and beyond industry standards.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy classic wings, sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone, America's #1 brakes destination. We have the pads, rotors, drums, shoes, and brake fluids to improve your stopping power. Right now, save 15% when you get any 2 Duralast rotors with a set of Duralast brake pads. Missing a tool? Ask about our free Loan-A-Tool program and borrow the tools you need to get the job done.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the MPD Group 2021. Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool.
They combine hard-hitting journalism,
Titans have actually made a move, finalizing a 1-year deal.
strong-willed opinions,
No, I disagree. No, I totally disagree with that.
and sometimes some old man takes
Don't want those cooked carrots that are 5 days old.
to create the perfect morning show. They are Robbie and Rexrode.
The job starts in the morning.
Mornings from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Looking at your guys' situation at wide receiver, is Jackson Smith and Jigba somebody you're looking at to help complement Traylon Burks?
Of course. I mean, I think we're looking for guys that can get open, that catch the ball, that can do things after it, that can create separation. Absolutely.
What impresses you about Jackson?
Well, I mean, I think this ability to work inside. I think he's got some ability to work outside. So just early on in the evaluation process.
That was Mike Vrabel at Jackson Smith and Jigba and Ohio State's Pro Day. Todd McShay's new 2-round mock draft is out at ESPN.com. With the 11th pick, Todd McShay has the Titans taking wide receiver Jackson Smith and Jigba out of The Ohio State University. He has him taking Drew Sanders, the inside linebacker out of Arkansas, at 41. Trevor Maddich is with us, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, where experience matters. Trevor, my response to both of those picks: no, 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 no on Smith and Jigba and Drew Sanders. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's high for Smith and Jigba. And I think they'll be able to find wide receivers who can run faster than Smith and Jigba probably in the second round, and certainly guys that they should be able to train up to be effective complementary wide receivers in the third round and even below. This is a pretty good draft for fast wide receivers. Now, they do need playmakers at that position, and Smith and Jigba was an amazing playmaker for a year at Ohio State. He's not perfect. He doesn't really snap off his routes all that fast, and really he's more smooth than he is sudden, but he's got great hands, and he was very productive on that Ohio State team when Ohio State had other receivers that were drawing a lot of the attention away from him. And I think a lot of people give him a little too much credit for his work in the Rose Bowl against Utah, where he had just an unbelievable day. Utah's secondary was so banged up that they had to start a running back at corner. And Ohio State's wide receiver corps just ate them to shreds because of that. And so that's nothing against Smith and Jigba, but at the same time, I think he's very good. Do I think he's 11 good? No, I don't. I'm worried about that hamstring injury and if that might be a lingering thing for him. Don't know if it will, but now that's a question mark. And I think if you had him rated similarly to an offensive lineman at number 11, I would go offensive line all day, because an outstanding offensive line will make receivers better than they are by giving the quarterback more time and creating more play action opportunities, whereas an outstanding playmaking wide receiver doesn't do much at all to compensate for problems on the offensive line. So there's a lot of reasons why, I wouldn't take him there unless he is just clearly rated higher than everybody else that's available, and I just don't see that happening.
Do you think the Titans have backed themselves in a corner where they have to go offensive line in either the first or second round this year?
I think they need to address the offensive line, and at this point, they're going to have to get something on the interior in the draft. They're just going to have to do it. And again, they don't want to reach, but there will be guys available. Like in the second round, there's going to be some pretty good players that they're going to have a chance to get on that offensive line if they don't take one in the first. And certainly they could take an offensive line first and second round, and they'd be good. I mean, you've got guys that aren't really being talked about a lot, like Steve Avila from TCU, who's a guard. He's like 6'3", 330 pounds. He's a road grader. You know, he's got some flaws in his game, but overall he's just very effective, very solid, and the kind of guy you want inside. You know, Osiris Torrance is another guy like that out of Florida. Plays guard, could play center. There's a couple of centers that are going to be really good prospects in the second round. I think that they will have the ability to address this offensive line, and it wouldn't surprise me if they end up taking offensive linemen in both the first round and the second round, because, again, there's a lot of fast receivers running around out there.
Trevor, I'm not a huge Will Levis guy. I do like Hendon Hooker. Todd McShay has them both going in the first round, but he has them going after the 11th pick. He's got Levis at 14 to Tampa Bay, and he's got Hooker at 23 to Minnesota. I have this one theory of belief, though. If you think either guy is a franchise guy, I think you have to take him at 11. What do you think about that? If you think either guy is a franchise quarterback, do you have to take them with the 11th pick?
I think you do. If you think they're the guy for the next 10 years. And, that's why I mentioned Hendon Hooker at number 11. If you think Hendon Hooker is going to be your starting quarterback for 10 years, then 11 is not too high to take him. And I think if they think those other guys are, that's fine. I mean, this team has a unique perspective because they have seen division rivals be in the quarterback wasteland for a long time. I mean, the Colts, for goodness sake, the Colts. Andrew Luck retires. Phillip Rivers doesn't get him to the promised land. Carson Wentz was a disaster. Where are they now? The Houston Texans have been in the quarterback wasteland for a long time because Deshaun Watson didn't pan out for them, and so they're still looking for that guy. And I think the Titans are looking at that going, we don't want to be that guy. And so if they see a quarterback they think is going to be their 10-year player, then, yeah, take him. Quarterback's a different evaluation from other positions. And, reaching for a quarterback from a standpoint of draft grade, if you think his production will be there for you, is different from reaching for any other position. And so I don't mind it at all. If they like a guy and they think he's their guy, then go ahead and take him, even if it's a little bit too high. But you better be right.
Do you think Will Levis is a franchise quarterback?
I do not. I have not seen that yet. Everybody talks about how strong his arm is, but then, he's got to work a lot on his accuracy. I don't care how strong your arm is. I mean, to me, there are times he looks like Anthony Richardson of Florida, where at times they'll drop a dime. You go, wow, that guy's great. And other times the dime will be there if he can hit it, and it looks like he can't hit the wall of a barn from the inside. What in the world does it matter? Quarterbacking is not just who can throw the ball the farthest and who can throw the best laser. There's a lot more to quarterbacking. Do I think he'll be a quality NFL quarterback at some point? He's got a very good chance. But to risk him as your franchise guy to take at number 11, or especially to move up, I just don't see it because he had a great season 2 years ago with a bunch of NFL guys around him at Kentucky. Last year he lost a lot of those NFL guys, and he didn't elevate the team like I thought that he would or that he should. Just look at Joe Burrow as an example. Burrow goes to Cincinnati. I think, what was it, 2 years ago they were in the Super Bowl? One of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. And Burrow found a way to get the ball out to those receivers. Burrow found a way to make the offense anyway. He made that offensive line better than they were. I didn't see Will Levis do that last year. Doesn't say he can't. I'm just saying that's quite an investment to hope that he can.
Last one for you. Trevor Maddich is our guest here on the program. What's the knock on Hendon Hooker? I mean, I know he's got the injury, but it's an ACL, right? It's not like it's massive shoulder surgery. And I know he's older, but he's going to be 25. He's not going to be 800. And quarterbacks play well into their 30s now. He's got the size. He's got the production. He's got the leadership qualities. He's got the arm strength. I know he played in kind of a funky college system, but what's the knock on Hendon Hooker?
Well, the age doesn't bother me, right? The ACL doesn't bother me. people criticize him because he was in a system that ran up-tempo, which simplified defenses, and he often was throwing that ball deep down the field to somebody who was running fairly open. And so they're wondering if he can make all the throws and if he can read NFL progressions. And so I don't worry about either one of those because he showed that he can throw a laser. He showed that he can throw a high lofted ball when he needs to. And he showed that he's got the accuracy to be very consistent hitting those deep balls. Most of the time when you've got a quarterback completing almost 70% of his passes in college, it's because he's throwing most of his balls at or behind the line. Hooker was throwing a lot of those balls deep down the field. But the meeting process is very important to him so that you can understand as a coach whether or not he really does understand the concepts so that he, can learn them and apply them. The other thing is when he threw the ball between the hashes, sometimes he sailed those balls, and that's very dangerous in the NFL. He just tried to put too much on it, or he would throw off his back foot a little bit. Do they think they can train that out of him? He also, throwing on the move wasn't all that great. And so these are things that are criticisms of his, and I'm not worried about any of those things because I think he is innately accurate, and most of the big criticisms to me are small to him.
Do you think he's a franchise quarterback?
Yes. I think Hendon Hooker will be a franchise quarterback in the NFL. I don't know that he'll be a perennial Pro Bowler, but I think he'll be a guy that will perform at a high level, and he'll give any offense the vertical threat that you need to unlock the rest of the offense.
There you go. Trevor Maddich, as always, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics. When experience matters. Couple of weeks to go until the draft, Trev.
Thanks, Jared. Yeah, can't wait.
Trevor Maddich joining us as always. Okay. Trevor says no on Will Levis as a franchise quarterback. Trevor says yes on Hendon Hooker as a franchise quarterback. We'll get to that coming up. Stillman and Company right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
Ball right to score. Yoshi sets up Matt Duchene.
All the big stories.
For the Predators, are you holding on to what you got or are you selling some guys off?
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Green flag is in the air.
It may not happen that way every game.
His shot stopped.
Gotta play better, gotta coach better.
TD Tigers.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Time for the Preds Report.
Presented by Newton Nissan.
The Nashville Predators trailed the Dallas Stars 1-0 heading into the second period of their game last night at the American Airlines Center in Dallas. But the Predators got a chance with a guy coming out of the penalty box, Kevin Gravel, in the second period. And now the Predators get it. Out of the box comes Kevin Gravel. Gravel inside the blue line, breaking in. His backhander, and that one is stopped by Wedgwood. Kevin Gravel, his penalty having just expired, popped out of the box all of a sudden, found himself going in all alone after slipping away from an attempted tackle at the line and getting a shot away. So Gravel could not convert the chance, but the Predators had that opportunity. Ryan Suter was the one coming over attempting to tackle him. Predators next will be going against the Vegas Golden Knights tonight at Bridgestone Arena. Pre-game at 6, the game at 7. This is Pete Weber reporting.
All the best car deals in Smashville start at Newton Nissan. Visit them at Newton Nissan of Gallatin or Newton Nissan South in Shelbyville.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Gary Ashton here. People walk up to me all the time and say, don't sell without the intel. This message couldn't be more true. Right now, it's a fantastic time to buy or sell your home in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. No one has more intel than the Gary Ashton team. So what is this intel we keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without stagings or showings? Intel on where to find your next home so that you can sell your current home while the market is hot? And intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity. For more intel, visit GaryAshton.com, where we can give you the insight and the most up-to-date real estate intel in Nashville. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate team of the Nashville Predators. Get the confidence to sell your home and find the dream address without the stress. Visit us today at GaryAshton.com. That's GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Men, this is Evan Bass with the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and I've been helping men with sexual health issues for many years. I've seen the pain and anxiety that men walk into the clinic with when erectile dysfunction is affecting them. And I also know the heartache and difficulty it can bring to their partner. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've been successfully treating men for ED for many years now. We've seen the amazing impacts that those treatments have on a man's confidence and positivity. And we've seen the wonderful things those treatments also do for a man's relationship. That's why I'm pleased to announce that we are now offering the same great services we offer at our Nashville clinic at our new location in Franklin, which will make it much more convenient for those men living south of Nashville to get treated. So call us today and book your appointment at our Midtown location or at our new clinic in Cool Springs. Your first visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatment sex start results vary.
Now, your Game Center update.
The Nashville Predators are back on the Bridgestone Arena ice tonight as they host Vegas. The Preds are looking to rebound from a 5-1 loss to Dallas last night. Nashville remains 5 points out of the final playoff spot with only 6 games remaining in the regular season. Puck drop for Preds versus Golden Knights is set for 7 with pregame at 6 right here on the Preds Radio Network. UConn was crowned the men's basketball champion last night in a 76-59 win over San Diego State. It's UConn's 5th national title in school history, and the Nashville Sounds and their season began over the weekend. Tonight they are in Memphis to take on the Redbirds, affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. Hear Jeff Hem on the call starting at 6:30 on your home of the Sounds, 94.9 The Fan. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 1063.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff.
You just play terrible and you keep playing. And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 1025, 1063 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. We're going to give something away later this hour, so be listening for that opportunity. So Todd McShay's latest mock draft is out at ESPN.com. And we've talked a lot about the fact that I don't like who he has the Titans picking at 11 in Jackson Smith and Jigba. But the question for me at 11 would be much different if the board shakes out the way he thinks it's going to. Now, I've told you, I think quarterbacks are going with the first 4 picks. And if not with the first 4, I think quarterbacks are going in 4 of the first 5. I do think Arizona's going to trade out, and it's going to be quarterback, 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 quarterback. And if it's not, Seattle at 5, in my opinion, is probably going to go quarterback. So Todd McShay sees it a little differently. C.J. Stroud, number 1 to Carolina, no surprise there. Bryce Young, number 2 to Houston, no surprise there. Anthony Richardson at 3, no surprise there to Indianapolis. Will Anderson, the pass rusher at Alabama at 4. Jalen Carter, the tackle from Georgia at 5, no surprise. Tyree Wilson at 6 to the Lions, no surprise. Devin Weatherspoon at 7, the corner out of Illinois to the Raiders. Now, that's a little bit of a surprise because even though the Raiders signed Jimmy Garoppolo, we know he's not the long-term answer. And so because he's not the long-term answer, would you not see the Raiders go quarterback? Levis is still on the board, but he has Devin Weatherspoon. In fact, McShay writes, quote, for those wondering whether Las Vegas could jump on Levis if he's available, I'll just say I've heard buzz that it isn't interested in using a high pick on a quarterback unless it's Young or Stroud. So they see Young and Stroud, and other than that, they're not interested, according to McShay. Atlanta at 8. They could go quarterback. They don't. They go Christian Gonzalez, the corner out of Oregon. The Bears at 9. They're not going to go quarterback, and they don't. Peter Skoronski, the left tackle out of Northwestern. Philadelphia at 10. They're not going to go quarterback, obviously, with Jalen Hurts. He has them going with Lucas Van Ness. So now the Titans are on the clock at 11. And Will Levis and Hendon Hooker are both available. And this is why I asked Trevor Maddich the question. I said, do you think Will Levis is a franchise guy? Trevor said no. He doesn't think Will Levis is a franchise guy. And to be completely honest with you, I don't think Will Levis is a franchise guy, just from my opinion. But what do I know on this stuff? Trevor would know infinitely more than I would. So if you don't think Will Levis is a franchise guy, then you shouldn't take him at 11. But if you do think he's a franchise guy, you have to take him. And then I asked Trevor, is Hendon Hooker a franchise guy? And Trevor said yes. He thinks Hendon Hooker is a franchise quarterback. Well, let's just say Trevor was our head scout. And it feels like for this program, he is. And Trevor says to us, he thinks Hendon Hooker is a franchise quarterback. At that point, my mind's made up at the 11th overall pick. And I know you're going to say, well, what if Paris Johnson Jr. is available with that pick? And Paris Johnson is a Hall of Fame caliber tackle. And I don't know if people see him like that. I don't. But I don't know if people see Paris Johnson as a Hall of Fame caliber tackle. And he's sitting there with the 11th pick. Or Jackson Smith and Jigba as a Hall of Fame caliber receiver.